All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. On the field, the New York Mets have not given their fans that much to cheer about this season, as unfortunately it looks like they're barreling towards their fourth losing season in the last 5 years. But off the field, Mets team owner Steve Cohen has been working hard to acknowledge the organization's mistakes from the past, which include failing to honor some of the franchise's legends. Now, since Cohen became the Mets majority owner, we've seen Willie Mays' number retired. Granted, he spent the bulk of his career with the Giants, as well as that of Keith Hernandez, a Tom Seaver statue, and even the return of Old Timers Day. Now, this year, Cohen has decided to keep that theme of honoring Mets players of the past going, as he made the decision to retire the numbers of both Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry. Now, there is no mistaking it. Gooden and Strawberry were key pieces in the Mets' success of the 1980s, which was capped off by the franchise winning the World Series in 1986. Now, neither Gooden or Strawberry finished their careers in Mets uniforms, and it was unfortunate for both players and franchise, especially franchise. But you just have to wonder what could have been. I say this because, and I'm not saying this to make light of it or bring these guys down, but it's just unfortunate. Drugs, unfortunately, sidetracked both Gooden and Strawberry, as each player had Hall of Fame potential. They really did. Okay, Gooden's electric fastball, while Strawberry had the strong arm from right field, he had the powerful bat in the middle of the lineup. And then on top of that, he had the gift of stealing bases, one of the smoothest swings in baseball. And I'll tell you this, from watching him in person, when the bat, when the ball came off of the bat of Darryl Strawberry, okay, it was one of those where it just sounded different. In all of my years of going to baseball games, there's some guys, when they hit the ball, it sounded different from everybody else. And for me, at the top of my list in that category, I got to say Darryl Strawberry, and I also got to say Bo Jackson. Okay, because when those guys hit the ball, it was just different. You think about Dwight Gooden, and I mean, when he pitched in his prime, it was must see TV. You had to be there and you wanted to be there from the first pitch to when, more often than not, he finished the game. Okay. This is what happened in those days. A starting pitcher started the game, he went all 9 innings. There was no analytics and all this jive. So you look at it, and I mean, Strawberry was on that path. Okay. And, he left the Mets after the 1990 season, of course. You know, the Mets, Frank Cashin was leading the front office at the time, and he and Strawberry's representatives could never come to an agreement on a deal. And Strawberry ended up going back home to LA. That's where he's from. And he signed with the Dodgers back in 1991. Had a solid first season with the Dodgers, hit 265, 28 home runs, 99 runs batted in. But he was never the same player, was able to resurrect his career in the late 90s with the New York Yankees, and he was a part of three World Series championship teams for the Yankees in the late 90s, as it kind of, gave him, some solace on his career. You look at Dwight Gooden. I mean, only Tom Seaver has recorded more strikeouts in a Mets uniform than Dwight Gooden had. You just think about his electric stuff, and you go back to, for me, one of Dwight Gooden's most shining moments, that '84 All Star game, and people are still going to talk about that with how he came out of the bullpen and struck out the American League in the inning that he pitched, but nonetheless had Cy Young material, had the ability, like I said, to be a Hall of Famer, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. Gooden, like Strawberry, was able to save face, joined the Yankees in 1996, threw a no hitter while pitching for the Yankees, and of course, it was one of those where it was another slap in the face for Mets fans at that point, because up until that point, they had not seen one of their own throw a no hitter in a Met uniform. But nonetheless, Gooden finished his career with just under 200 wins, more than close to 2,300 strikeouts. And again, like I said, this guy, like Strawberry, had Cooperstown stuff. Now, getting back to Steve Cohen, and like I said, he's trying to, make up for a lot of the wrongs over the years. One could imagine that it's only a matter of time before David Wright gets his number retired and gets acknowledged by the Mets organization. It's one of those, clearly one of the better players in the franchise's history. Wright was another guy where his career could have been better, but unfortunately, the injuries got the best of him. Had that bad back in the latter years of his career. For his sake, he was able to taste the World Series with the Mets in 2015. Did get that big home run in Game 3 to give Citi Field some life. That was the only game of that series that New York would win. But nonetheless, he'll probably be the next guy. And this is something that Cohen is doing because, in previous ownership of Fred and Jeff Wilpon, they acknowledged guys, yeah, but it was basically you acknowledge the 86 championship team, the 69 championship team, and also Mike Piazza. And it was hard to not acknowledge Mike Piazza for what he meant to the Mets, and the same for Tom Seaver. But I think Steve Cohen has taken it another level, given Tom Seaver the statue that he deserved it a long time ago. And bringing guys back for Old Timers Day. They talked about how they felt so welcomed at Citi Field, first time that they could ever say that with the Mets organization. And again, like I said, Cohen's trying to do right by this team. At the same time, the product on the field, at least this year, has not been good. I know that the Mets just swept the Washington Nationals down in DC. That's big for them. They're still 8 games under 500, but they're only 3.5 back of the final wild card in the National League, and there's still plenty of baseball to play, so anything can and will happen. But nonetheless, you just look at Doc and Darryl, great players for the Met organization. But again, like I said, at the end of the day, only thing we could sit back and say what could have been, because unfortunately, both of them left a lot on the table. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.